Welcome everybody to our next episode of How You Going? Sharing stories with Tom. And you know what, I say it before everyone, but I'm very excited today because this is one person that, even though I've only known her for what's it been, 3.5, 4 years now, has made a big difference in my life and opened my eyes to a lot of things that I thought I knew about, which I didn't quite. And so that's KJ. And welcome, KJ, to our episodes. Our whole premise here is promoting the message of being proud to be you, sharing actual stories, real people, real stories, and just having a chat. So before we kick off every episode the same way, we like to ask the question that the diggers used to ask their mates, to really ask how they're going. But you know what, we've changed it now to just be a colloquial greeting. So let's bring it back and actually ask a real question. Kristee Jolly, how you going?
I'm feeling good today, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Feeling good. Love to hear that. Why are you feeling so good today?
Um, I'm just in a bit of a routine at the moment, so I'm trying to get outside and start my day with a bit of meditation and be by the beach, and I've done that today. So yeah, it always puts me in a good mood. So that's why I'm feeling good.
Great stuff. We're lucky enough to be blessed with another great Perth day. So good to hear that you've been at the beach and getting your day off to a great start. But for people who don't know, who is Kristee Jolly?
Well, that's a big question to start with.
That is.
Well, maybe I'll start with my professional title, if you like.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I am currently an inclusion consultant at Inclusion Solutions, and I've been there for 4 years now, just over 4 years. Prior to that, I worked in local government for 5.5 years at the Shire of Toodyay. And personally, I am a daughter, a sister, a partner, a friend, a crazy cat lady. My cat is just meowing at me and she wants to join this. But I love sports in particular. Hockey is my love, which I'm missing like crazy at the moment. But yeah, I love getting outdoors, going to the beach, stand-up paddleboarding, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. I love it. And straight away you can tell that you value what you do, because you went straight into actual roles of a person, which I'm sure we'll get into next. And look, there's Ivy. She's come for a bit of
Here's
a look.
Ivy. Let's introduce the cat to everyone.
Yep, there
This
we
is
go.
Ivy, the cross-eyed cat.
Look, she's waving
She
away.
loves attention.
So you went straight to where you are now, but where have you come from? Where were you born? Where were you raised? That sort of thing.
So I was born in Subiaco, St John of God Hospital. Most of my life I spent in Toodyay. So for those of you that don't know where Toodyay is, it's in the Wheatbelt region of Western Australia. It's about an hour and a half from Perth City.
And for those of you like us that can't spell it, how do you spell Toodyay?
Toodayay.
There you
So
go.
it's a Noongar word that talks about place of plenty.
There you go. I love it. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, all good. So yeah, I spent most of my childhood, well, all of my childhood, growing up on a small hobby farm, 150 acres. So my family were farmers, mainly crops, and always grew up around livestock. And not that we had lots, but I had pet sheep and pet cows. Yeah, I have a younger brother who I grew up with as well. He's 2 years younger than me. And yeah, so I did all of my schooling in Toodyay. Toodyay only goes up to year 10. So I have very fond memories of going to school in Toodyay. Unfortunately, when I hit high school, I had to go to Northern Senior. 2 years of my life that I didn't particularly enjoy very much, but character building is what I'll tell myself. And I did meet some good people there. But yeah, so when I finished school, I think when I left Toodyay, my dream job was a phys ed teacher. And then when I got to Northern, when I started to study my TE, I went through a heap of changes and things like that. Like I lost some friends, my mum and dad split up. I just really didn't enjoy the school. It just wasn't somewhere that I felt like I belonged. So I dropped out of my TE, and I don't know, I just didn't really have any motivation to study or to find out what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until after I left school I had to pick something to do, and I started studying my Certificate 3 in fitness, and I hated gyms, was what I realised from studying that. But I loved the group fitness element of it. I loved being around people, and that at the time was when the Zumba craze was happening. And I started my own business teaching Zumba in Toodyay, and that's where every single week I was going into the Shire to get the keys, and I started developing a relationship with the people there, and I was asked to apply for a position in admin, and that's where I got my first full-time job. So that's how I started my local government career. And after a few years in admin and getting a little bit bored, I was promoted into a position in community development, and that's led me to where I am now. So I never would have imagined it that way. There's no way I would have seen myself in local government. There's no way I would have seen myself in community development, but I think it's the perfect job for me.
Well, I know it's a perfect job. I'm lucky enough to work beside you every day now, and which we'll come to in a sec. But I just want to go back a little bit, and when you come from Toodyay, you've gone to Northern and experienced, like I'm not going to say normal circumstances, but there are those circumstances that affect a few people out there today, especially parents breaking up, not fitting in at school, and not knowing where they're going. And you've just quickly rattled off a complete line of like that you followed there, which I don't think should be underestimated. And going back and looking at around that gym and fitness, and you said you like being around people, so that's what I'm going to pick on out of that part there, the people. When you say you like people, what do you mean by that?
I am an extrovert, so I get a lot of my energy off others. So I love being around people who will teach me something new, somebody who will share their passion with me. Even if I don't have that passion as well, I love being around people that are authentically themselves, because that's somebody that I want to be as well. I just love being around people who share their stories, and that's why I was really keen to be involved in your project.
Great. Yeah, and because that's exactly what it is. It's about having being proud to be authentically yourself and embracing who you are, which I know from personally knowing your story that you have, and through these trials and tribulations that have only made you the stronger person that you are today. So coming through, let's go back to that high school time for a little bit. Making that decision to leave high school to actually have that pressure from wherever it was coming from, I can imagine it was from a few sides. What did that feel like as what I'm assuming a 16, 17-year-old young woman?
So I stayed in high school. I did finish my year 12,
Okay.
but I left my TE, so I wasn't going to get the score so I could go to uni.
Yep.
Thankfully for me, my parents were supportive of that. I don't doubt for a second that they were like, you're smarter than this, so why are you doing it? But I think they both knew that I wasn't happy, and if I wasn't happy, I was going to apply myself. Yep. So I wouldn't say there was I think I had pressure from my teachers, because they were like, you're better than this. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I kind of just want to cruise through these 2 years. So I got to do cool things like cooking class and IT class, which was fun. Sport, obviously, drama, those kinds of things. So everyone had to do English, so I stayed doing that, and I'm one of those really strange people that enjoys maths, so I stayed in my higher level maths class, but otherwise I picked the cruisiest subjects that I could and cruised through year 11 and 12.
Awesome. And we won't talk any more about that one. That's great. Hey, I'm one of those crazy people that likes maths as well, so I totally agree with you. So then finding yourself then, coming through that, getting into the old Zumba craze. I bet there wouldn't have been too many Zumba classes going on in Toodyay at the time.
No, I was the only one, and I think that's why it was so popular. Like, I don't know whether you remember the craze, but people went nuts for it. I think my biggest class I ever had was 58 people in the town hall in Toodyay, and it was crazy. Like, it was the biggest class I've ever done. 58. So again, for those of you that don't know Toodyay, it's a small town. It's population 4,500 people, and I was getting 58 of those in to do Zumba.
Yeah, that's definitely a decent figure. So the Zumba craze going through, and then local government. So what, like, and you went through into that admin role, then that community development role. So which would you say you're in now? So from in that community development role, what did you start to find out about Kristee?
I think what I found out is that I had a deep love of my community. I loved the people that volunteered in our community, whether that was our local fire and rescue, to the Friends of the River, to the theatre group. I loved those people. I loved the people that made our community what it was. And I'd always been around the different sporting clubs and community groups myself from a really young age. And I saw my mum volunteer all the time. So being in that role of supporting community was just sparking my passion, really. I think as well, what I found out is that there were so many young people in our community that thought that Toodyay was a bad place to live. There wasn't anything to do and it was boring. And for me, I was like, no, there's so much out there on offer. You just don't realize what's available to you. And I just wanted to share that knowledge with the young people and get them connected to community like I was.
Great. And I know, like, your passion around that and what actually tranfolded from it, but as a person, as a youth growing up in a small country town, hearing these probably your peers, your mates, your friends, probably family as well, saying, you know what, it is a bad place, there's crime, there's nothing to do, can't wait to get out of here. And now all of a sudden you're in a role where your role is to promote actually there is. What did that do for the person who you are now becoming, and that person that you want to express to people, and to being proud of your town and showing what's available?
I think I think it just gave me the confidence to show people that you could be whoever you wanted to be. Like, there are the tools and the people in the community to support you to be the best version of yourself. And I'm a product of that, I think.
Wow, that's powerful. I love it, because that there is 100% why we're talking about, while making this series and having these chats. And everyone that I've spoken to so far, and I bet everybody out there that's listening, there's a point where not so much a penny drops, but like you decide that those values and those goals of yourself are more important than maybe what the external pressures are actually putting on yourself. And knowing the person you are and knowing the passions and values that you hold, I've got no doubt that they probably started murmuring and festering before that. But when people are coming to you and actually I don't know if it felt like they were attacking, but actually saying something that you knew wasn't true about your community. How did you find? I'm loving it. How
Sorry,
did
the
you?
cat just bit me.
um, yeah. So, how did you deal with actually being proud of your beliefs in your community?
Well, I think most of those voices were coming from people that were quite a bit younger than me. So I think I was maybe 19 or so, and they were probably like, given that most young people in Toodyay, like the school age kids, are 15 and under. Um, I I think I just wanted them to know it was okay to feel that way, but also that there was so much out there that they just weren't aware of, and there was an opportunity to find something that they loved in their own local community. So I don't know. There are two sides of it. There were pressures from, well, pressures, if you like, from um, older demographics, if you like. So there is a big demographic of older Australians in Toodyay, so it's a place where people go to retire. So there was this pressure of, oh, the young people are up to no good, they're ungrateful, blah blah blah. There was a bit of pressure that was like, well, you're young, Kristee, what do you know, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that was something that I dealt with a lot. But then there was the young people themselves that maybe they believed there was nothing to do because those voices were telling them that there wasn't anything for them. They weren't welcome. I don't know. But
Yeah.
they're the main pressures, I think.
Yeah. So the $1 million question: what did you do?
So at the time, one of my good friends, Carla, that I was working with at the Shire, she sent me a flyer for something that was happening in Northam, and it was called the Northam Inclusive Community Program, and it was run by a group of local people, supported by the Shire, and supported by an organisation called Inclusion WA, and they were running activities during the school holidays, but rather than it being bringing people up from Perth to do things like what generally happens in country towns, they were engaging local community groups and sporting clubs to do it. And I was like, that's genius. I want to do that. So I contacted Inclusion WA, and yeah, that's when the Toodyay Inclusive Community Program was born. So I drove it with the support of some really passionate community members from different age demographics, different community groups, different, like the police, the school. Inclusion WA came in with their inclusion expertise, and yeah, we just engaged the local community groups that were always crying out for new members and volunteers, and they just ran 1 to 2 hour activities during school holidays, and it was amazing.
Yeah. And I know all about this story, and I know the results of it, but just for people out there who don't know, without going too deep into it, what was I know there was a few measurable effects, but tell us about the crime rate.
So when we first started it, at that point in time, Toodyay had the highest youth crime rate in the wheat belt, which is like, the wheat belt's a huge region, and for me, I was like, whoa, we're worse than Northam. Shit.
G'day to everyone in Northern,
I
by
was
the
like,
way.
yeah, no, we're not going to have that. So
Yeah.
I think there were a few examples of, like, there were kids that broke into the bowling club and pulled down the shade sails, and they were just bored kids. Like, they didn't know, there was nothing happening during school holidays. And as a result of this program, we were able to engage those kids and get them forming relationships with, yeah, the bowling club for one. They opened their doors, and I think when you have a personal relationship with the people in the community that are giving up their time to make the community a better place, it's hard to go and pull down their shade sails and
Yeah.
want to
I mean,
vandalize the club rooms. Yeah, so there was a steep decline in youth crime, which is awesome. Higher kids and young people involved in the community groups, and just greater awareness of what was available, and that's exactly what I wanted.
yeah, amazing. And creates a bit of pride in the community, pride of what they're doing, and ultimately pride in themselves. I mean, great stuff. And look, it's one that I talk about a lot in my day-to-day work as well, and I know that a lot of other people share that, and I know how proud you are of it, so congrats on that. So you've gone through this. We're going to skip ahead a little bit now and talk about when Kristee wakes up on a Saturday morning. Who's Kristee now?
Probably first up, I'm a crazy cat lady because my cat's
Yeah.
coming in for cuddles. Not now though, after she just bit me unexpectedly. I'm not in Toodyay anymore. I haven't been in Toodyay for 4 years. So I'm a community member of Eglinton, and to be honest, I'm not as connected to this community as I am to Toodyay, or as I was connected to Toodyay. I've only just met my neighbour whose dad lives in Toodyay, and I know him random.
For those who don't know, that's called the Toodyay connection, and it happens a lot more than you actually think.
Yeah, so I guess my partner Chris and I built a house together. So I'm a homeowner. I'm a beach goer, hockey player. Yeah, I think I'm generally out socializing and being a social person, but given the times we're in now, I'm just trying to get out in my community in a safe way. So going for walks and stuff like that. But I'm a foodie. I forgot to mention that. I love food. So good coffee, good food. In particular, brunch, best meal of the day. Yeah,
Combines
that's
them
me on the
both.
weekend.
Yeah, great. And then you also forgot to mention that you work in communities, so right across Western Australia and Australia at the moment. And this brings us into a conversation that we've been having with everybody, and I'm sure you would see probably a lot more than others, and that's a stigma about people wearing a mask and not being, not so much proud of who they are, but like not really knowing who they are or where they're going and what their values are. And so why do you think, no, let me rephrase that. What do you think it means when people say, or you hear that somebody is wearing a mask or not quite themselves?
I think that people wear masks because they don't feel like they're safe enough to share who they are deep down. So yeah, they're not in a position to be who they want to be. So it's just it's a way to protect themselves.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. And can
Yeah.
you think about a time in Kristee's life where that may have been the case? Really putting you on the spot here.
I don't know. I know that I can't think of a real specific moment,
Yeah.
but I know I will put on a mask and I won't be my authentic self when I don't feel comfortable. If I feel like the person that's trying to connect with me, or I'm in an environment where that person isn't authentic, and I don't know, sometimes you just get a vibe about somebody.
Yeah.
You just know that they're not asking you questions, or they're not trying to connect with you with your best interests at heart. So I know I'll put up walls because it's a mode of protection, and I won't let you in.
By all means. And that, I think, sums it up pretty much exactly, like you using the word authentic. and values, and actually coming back to what your belief system is around that. And when, well, the simple answer is, if somebody's not on your wavelength of your values and doing something that you don't think is authentic, then why would you give that authentic self to them? So,
Yeah.
and now, especially coming from somewhere like Toodyay, and without using too much of a phrase, but the girl from Toodyay who's now turned into this woman of the community, and who's traveled around the world and been to a few places, did an absolutely extreme stunt to get concert tickets, which we'll talk about in a sec. But those values evolving, and being that person that you look at in the mirror, how has that journey shaped who you are?
I feel like I'm pretty lucky as a person. I feel as though I've always been surrounded by family and friends and support circles, whether that's my teachers or my colleagues. I've always been in a position where people have made me feel comfortable to be my authentic self, to share my values and share my voice. And I'm pretty privileged in that, right? I don't think, yeah, I've had my hurdles and barriers, but I've always had people supporting me and backing me. So I think that's why I am the person that I am today.
And an amazing person as well, because who could go to a completely different country, talk to a complete random stranger over the internet to get what she wanted? You know where I'm going with it. Tell us the story.
So a couple of years ago, well, it's almost 2 years ago now, that makes me really sad. Okay, actually, let's go back a little bit further.
Okay.
So when it comes to authentic self, I love emo music. That emo music, like My Chem, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, they were in their prime when I was a teenager. So angsty teen tunes have a big part of my soul.
There we go.
And I haven't let that go. So almost 2 years ago now, I went on a trip to America with my best friend, and Panic at the Disco was touring at the time. They weren't coming to Perth when they were doing their Australian tour. So I was like, you know what? Let's get tickets. Now, my best friend doesn't like emo music. And I was like, well, we're in LA. They're playing tonight. I'm not going to miss this. So I bought myself a front row seat off StubHub, I think it was.
Great website.
And we were going to the baseball before the gig started. So we're going to a Dodgers game. And for whatever reason, Dodger Stadium doesn't let you take in signs. And I was like, well, if I've come all this way, I'm going to make a sign so that Brendan, the lead singer of Panic at the Disco, can see me in the front row. Let him know that I've come all the way from Perth. And yeah, so I connected with, I have an online community of Panic at the Disco fans. I'm also a part of a Fall Out Boy fan group, which sounds so funny now that I'm saying it. But yeah, I connected with this guy called Art, and he was more than happy to meet with me and take my sign in for me. And then we met up again before, and yeah, it was just somebody I never would have connected with if it wasn't for that band. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity, because I don't know whether Bebo saw my sign, but it was bright yellow. I was in the front row. Like, surely he would have been like, oh yeah, that chick. And that's enough for me.
Love it. So if you saw that sign, reach out and like say, hey, yes, we were there. Where was it? Staples Center?
Yeah, Staples Center.
Staples Center, LA, whatever day. There we go. So now, if you weren't proud to be you and proud to have the value of loving that band so much and wanting to get that message across, there'd be no way that you could have done that.
No way. Like, yeah, there were heaps of people that were like, why did you go to concerts by yourself? And I was like, well, yeah, I would have liked to have shared it with someone, but
You also didn't want to miss out on it.
that,
That was something that you were
yeah,
going to do.
exactly. Yeah, and I think if you love something, why not share it? Why not get involved in it?
Because like, I'm guessing at a Fall Out Boy concert, there would have been at least 4 or 5 people there.
Yeah, it was sold out.
Yeah. So what are we talking? 10,000?
I don't know, how big is the Staples Center? It's pretty
Yeah,
big.
pretty big. So a massive
I don't
concert,
know.
and you managed to connect with someone out of the blue over the internet through a fan base site and do that.
Yeah.
And do you still talk to him?
Every now and again we'll touch
Yeah.
base. So,
Yeah.
you know this story because I shared it at one of our forums. So I did a presentation about connecting with people. So I shared him, like obviously we connected, so I got his permission to share the story. And I shared the video afterwards so that he could hear me talk about it. But yeah, every now and again we'll just touch base online, and yeah.
So cool. So cool. So through this journey, the girl from Toodyay, you've turned into this amazing community changer at the moment. You said you've had your ups and downs. You've gone back to those values and those belief systems that you've got. You've mentioned the word authentic 49 times. I love it because it's exactly what it's
What?
about. Not quite, but hey, the more that word authentic and people know the true meaning of it, the more powerful it's going to be. And I know, relating it back to my story where I said how golf saved my life, and actually talking about the sport. And people, you mention the word golf, and straight away people think of, oh, it's a rich white man's sport. That, like, why would you say that saved your life? Or when I did an interview with an ABC radio host, and he said, I thought golf drives you crazy, not makes you, not helps you. And hearing those and having those thoughts about, you know what, people have got these perceptions of what a sport, what a genre of music, what a job, what a belief system is, that we sometimes go so far insulated into our shell that we don't actually be proud of who we are for doing these things, and actually we forget why we do these things, the enjoyment, the satisfaction, the way that it can take you to other places of the world and meet new people. And so it all comes back to finding that value system of who you are, and being proud of that. So the whole theme around these series of chats is being proud of who you are. And you've mentioned a few roles, you've mentioned where you've come from, you've mentioned your emo music. What does it mean to be Kristee Jolly?
I'm pretty proud of who I am. I think that I'm a good person, and I have the ability to support people in community, and I think that's a privilege. So, um, yeah, I'm incredibly proud to be who I am.
Great. And I'm proud to call you a mate as well, and proud that we can have open conversations like this. And when you are maybe stuck or looking for advice, you do reach out, and so I thank you for that. Those people listening out there, they may be just emo tragics, they may be working in community development, they may be in a small town, looking at what's next. What's one bit of advice on being proud of yourself that you can give to these people watching today?
My advice is to surround yourself with the people that are going to make you the best version of yourselves. If there are people that are draining your energy or making you feel unsafe, or like you're in a position where you can't share who you truly are, I don't think you need those people in your life. I think you need people that want you to be the best version of yourself. And that doesn't mean you have to have lots of people. It might just be one person. But also love yourself. I think
Yeah.
before you find other people, I think you have to just be happy with who you are as a person and know that you are worthy and that you're enough. And as
Wow.
soon as you love yourself, you're going to attract people that love you as well.
Wow, that's powerful. I love it. And you know what, you nailed it on the head there by being able to, by loving yourself, being able to look at the mirror. And you know what, there's going to be days where you're going to be down, you're going to be sad, and you're not that impressed with that person looking back for you for whatever reason. But being able to actually look them in the eye and say, you know what, I still believe in these values, and you can get back up and try again. And like our mate, the professional Ironman, said the other day, like, yeah, loving that person in the mirror, working through that is it's going to be essential to creating the person that you do love. Now I know for me, looking back on it, taking what you just said, then my deepest, darkest times weren't the time where I was discovering about my depression. It was actually finding out why I'd gone down this rabbit hole of being someone that I wasn't for so long, and actually being able to not even rip the band-aid, but actually stop the downward spiral was the key to that. And what I mean by that is, once we stop falling, that's when we can start climbing again. And it's not about climbing straight away, it's about stopping the falling. So reaching out for help, whether that be professional help like Dr. Kane talked about, there's all these phone numbers out there now, but whether it be your school counselor, whether it be a friend, whether it be a parent, whether using my old trick of picking up your phone and just talking to it, but stopping that falling is the key. So you know what, KJ, this has been amazing, and I've really got a lot from this, and hearing that story of yours. And hopefully there's a few people out there that listen to this and actually can see what an amazing person you are, how you've turned what some may see a flaw in loving emo music into an opportunity to actually create an amazing story. We've all got this story out there, and we all deserve to share that with whoever wants to listen to it. So I thank you for that.
Thanks for letting me share.
No worries at all. So just gonna signing off and wrapping everything up. Anything else from KJ's story that you want to share with us?
No, I think for anybody watching this, you might think that I've come across as everything is sunshine and rainbows. I haven't always had awesome moments in my life, and I don't think, given everything we've spoken about today, I don't feel like now is a time to share those moments. But just know that all of those moments, deaths in the family, deaths of friends, relationship breakdowns, all of those things, they shape you to be the person that you are today. And I have experienced those things. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, but it's character building. It's what makes you who you are, and feel the feelings that you're feeling, and just know that you've got the support of people around you that love you and care about you, and it's only going to make you stronger.
Great stuff. I love it. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, definitely, but you know what? The best diamonds are made under the biggest pressure. So there you go. I'd like to say I stole that.
Exactly.
Again, that was probably Confucius or someone like that. So, look, on another note, thank you so much, Kristee, for coming in and having a few words. Look, I know, like I said, I've got a bit out of this as well. For me, being able to share these stories and go on this journey with people that I love and care about around me, and actually connect with them on this level, but knowing that there are some people that are going to get something else from this just resonates so much with me, being authentic to my values. So I appreciate you taking the time out to come and have a chat, and we'll sign it off there. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.